Yeah, I think we'll see this game a lot on red zone, with the Commanders being in the red zone, driving the football right down the Arizona Cardinals' throat. Jonathan Gannon, I think he's going to be the next Nathaniel Hackett. Some people aren't meant to be head coaches. They're meant to be coordinators. I think he's one of them based on the vibe we're getting there. And I am all over the Commanders in this game. But a play that I really like is Sam Howell over 203.5 passing yards. We're not going to get this line this low moving forward after we see what he does to the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday. When you look at him, this line's way too low based on what he did in the preseason and based on how Arizona is going to play defense. They ranked 26 in defensive real quarterback rating and 31st in defensive passer rating last season. According to coldhardfootballfacts.com, they just simply didn't get better on that side of the football. And based on all the clips we're seeing out of training camp, based on all the hype around the Arizona Cardinals, I think Sam Howell could have a big day. And then you look at the weapons that he has to work with. They're actually really good. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. Howell looked good in the preseason as well with these guys. The game that stands out, obviously, was the one against the Baltimore Ravens where he ended the win streak. But there's a lot of talent here. I think there's a decent offensive line, and you're going against a JV secondary, a JV defense as a whole. So there's no reason to take this prop when it's this low. Also, I don't see him getting benched because he needs all the work that he can get if the Commanders went up by a serious amount of points. No, I think the Jaguars have the team to do some serious damage. We're also getting the boom rate out of Anthony Richardson, people thinking he can put up points on the board just because of his ability to run the football and throw, and it's something that we haven't seen yet. But again, another prop here. I love NFL props because there's so much data and stats we can look at to execute and get some really good plays here. Trevor Lawrence to go over 258.5 passing yards. Home division dogs have been money in week one over the year, so that's one reason to stay away from a spread here. If you are a little hesitant on the Jaguars coming in covering, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they will cover the spread. But the Colts were 30th in defensive passer rating, according to coldhardfootballfacts.com last season. They ranked 28th in defensive real quarterback rating, so just really weren't that efficient defending quarterbacks and defending their opponent, the opponent passing game here. I think the Jaguars are going to run all over the field. Now they have Calvin Ridley added to an already loaded wide receiver room. I think Evan Ingram's in for a huge year. And the Colts are going to take their lumps early in this season. They're going to give up a lot of points. They're a very young team here. But the one thing that they did better last year was defend the run, so it's another reason to lean towards Lawrence instead of Travis Etienne for his rushing yards. Again, Lawrence, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think we're going to see him deliver in this spot. And I think we're going to see a coming out party for this Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver core. It's very, very good. Yeah, it's a line that I want to stay away from in all areas. I think the total's low. I think it could easily get over, especially if the Titans are able to come in and run the football effectively with Derrick Henry and work in some play action. And I do think the Saints passing attack, again, another coming out party here. We're going to see Derek Carr in a new element with some really good receivers, one being Chris Olave. A reason I lean towards props in week one, just because anyone can win on any given day in the NFL, but lines are always a little sketchy in week one. We got underdogs that might not be that much of an underdog that are playing here. So again, I'm just staying towards the props, and I like Chris Olave to go over 66.5 receiving yards. He caught 72 passes last season for 1,040 yards, and his big playability is the reason to take him here. 14.5 yards per catch last season. That's why he's always a viable option for betting when it comes to his yardage total. He can break away in the slot. He can make men miss. He's got great yard after the catch ability, so a lot of reasons to trust him. And when you look at the Titans, they were okay against the pass. They were okay against the run. I mean, they weren't good. I'm not saying they were, but the biggest issue that they had on defense was their big plays. They gave up a ton of them. They ranked 26 in defensive real passing yards per attempt, according to coldhardfootballfacts.com, and just they didn't get the job done in that area. They struggled to tackle in the open field. And Chris Olave is a nightmare if you're looking at a defense that gives up a lot of big plays. So I'm going to go over on his total again. He's never really had a great quarterback in town, and he still had 1,040 yards last season. I think with Derek Carr there and a really good passing attack, a strong offensive line, I think they're going to be just fine. I think the Steelers are going to win the game outright. They're at home. That's a big reason to take them. They have a very good defensive front. They're good on offense, or getting better on offense with Kenny Pickett, but their defense is sensational. And the 49ers are getting a little bit shaky on the offensive line. Obviously have one of the best offensive linemen in the game, probably one of the best players in the NFL in Trent Williams. But they also lost Mike McGlinchey last year. That's really going to be noticeable. I am going to play a prop here with Christian McCaffrey over 94.5 rushing plus receiving yards. The matchup isn't necessarily ideal for McCaffrey against Pittsburgh Steelers. Probably all the advanced analytics would say, don't play this. But when I look at Christian McCaffrey, that's the reason to play him, because he's that good and he's going to get touches. I think he's going to hit this number just by sheer volume alone at 94.5. This number is usually around 120.5 for his combo when you're going against a defense that isn't really good. And another thing going for him in this spot is Kyle Shanahan, one of the best play callers in the game. So he's going to find ways to open up McCaffrey. He's an explosive play master. I think we're going to see a lot of wide zone stuff. And if McCaffrey gets a hole, he's good enough to break it at will. He doesn't need that many, big chunk plays to hit 94.5 when you're adding his rushing plus receiving in there. He's a guy that can catch the ball in the intermediate passing game. He can also catch it out of the backfield to make men miss. So a couple 20-yard gains, he's right in business to hit this. And as good as the Steelers are, McCaffrey is very good too. He can make plays. Just put him behind Trent Williams and let him do his thing. And I think he's going to get over this 94.5 receiving plus rushing total because of it.